Welcome to the Sailor Noob podcast, where a superfan and a noob talk about the original Sailor Moon episode by episode. I'm your host, Mikan Hana, joined by my co-host.
I'm the co-host, Caliban, and this is it.
Yes.
This is the end.
That's right. And we're a couple of magical people ready to moon prison power make up this episode. Sailor Noob is brought to you by the power of love and friendship.
The end of love and friendship.
Yeah, right. There is no more.
This is it.
This is it.
This is the end of a journey. We've accomplished something.
We have. It's the end of season 1.
It doesn't. Then no wonder you make it seem like it's not a big deal.
Sorry.
I don't know that it's the end of season 1. Live your life through my eyes.
Okay.
See the wonder.
All right.
In these eyes.
Yes. Well, I think you're going to tell me about that wonder in a little bit.
Whoa, way to push it off on me. Keep talking, Taki.
Today's episode, we are talking about episode number 46. Usagi no omoi wa towa ni. Atarashiki tensei in Japanese. Usagi's eternal wish, a brand new life. And again, for the Deke dub, episode 45 and 46 of the original Japanese season, which is, of course, a two-parter, were combined and edited down to one episode entitled Day of Destiny. So... The day
of destiny. Not to get ahead of ourselves.
It's here.
Did they just run that first episode of R right after this, like next week? This is one episode to them. And then it's like, oh boy, where will the future go from here? Who can say? And then meanwhile on Cartoon Network, it's just like, we can say, here it is. Here's the next episode.
There is a little bit of a break, but only a couple of weeks, not even a month. So there was a little bit of a break.
Hold that thought.
Okay.
Till the end of the show.
Would you like to give us a breakdown of the episode?
Yes, I'll give you a synopsis, in fact, of what happens in the episode. And like I said, even though you're not excited, I am. So
I didn't say I wasn't excited.
Forgive me if I have to take a break or pause during this. But we open in the Arctic Circle. Usagi is standing at the foot of the smoking crater that we saw last episode, thinking, so this is the entrance to the Dark Kingdom.
Yes.
Which, okay, so I guess the Dark Kingdom has been underground the whole time.
Yeah.
I mean, what was the tip? That we always pan down into the Dark Kingdom? Like, we never pan...
Well,
what are we going to pan
true.
up?
Yeah, right.
We're always near. We're always like coming down. So I guess they've been telling us this the whole time. She sees the girls again in her memory, the Sailor Scouts, and she swears to honor that memory. Inside the Dark Kingdom, Beryl is watching Sailor Moon on her crystal ball, thinking to herself, little girl, I'll show you what hell is.
Yeah.
Which, whoa!
I know, right?
Like to see Cartoon Network parse that. Localization. We get a POV shot of something hurtling towards Usagi over the ice. And it turns out to be one of those red bubble things that they use to capture people and just transport them.
Yeah.
Like we saw with the Starlight Tower. And Usagi is whisked away. She reappears in the Dark Kingdom. And Beryl says, welcome, princess. Congratulations on making it this far. And we see her, it's a cool shot. We see her like half in shadow.
Yes.
I don't know what the light
really
source
like
is.
that.
Maybe it's her staff and she's switching hands or something. But as the light crosses, to the other side of her and hits her fully, we see Endymion is on his knees at her side, kissing her hand.
Yes.
And Beryl says, kill the princess. And he's like, sure.
I know, a little too readily.
He immediately leaps towards Usagi with his sword drawn, but she rolls out of the way, and she hits him with the moon healing escalation, but to no effect. Beryl says, that won't work. You're too inexperienced to dispel the evil energy from him. Endymion summons a black rose and says simply, Sailor Moon, die. And he throws the rose at her, which becomes a bunch of vines, which restrain and electrocute her.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we've seen this before.
Nope.
Maybe we have. But anyway, they love the electrocution thing.
Yes.
Beryl's having a good time watching this.
Mm-hmm.
Usagi's having a bad time because she's remembering when Mamoru wasn't an evil creep. But she's in a lot of pain and she collapses. And Endymion moves in and there's a second where there's a pause. we don't know what's going to happen. We just kind of sit there, sort of
Yeah.
in this moment. And then he just kicks her.
I know.
Like, wow. Meanwhile, on the sun, things look bad. There's spots all over the place.
Yeah.
Back in the Dark Kingdom, Usagi is really being tortured by Endymion at this point. He's got her by the throat, and he's electrocuting her. And Beryl is like, soon Queen Metalia will be resurrected. Okay, now let her down, Endymion, and cut off her head, please.
Yeah.
And Usagi is reaching for the moonstick, but Beryl says, that's useless. Metalia will soon fill the world with dark energy, and the crystal's power will be unleashed. Everything you and your friends did was meaningless. Usagi sees a flash of her broken friends, and almost in a daze, she throws her glowing tiara into Endymion's chest.
Yeah.
Like Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
He collapses, and he starts to get up again. And he's like, as he's getting up, he's like, blah, 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 blah. I don't know why it's Tasmanian Devil, but he's just like, he's really struggling. But Beryl says all the dark energy we have is inside of him, so you'll have to do better. Was she a life coach? She's like giving her tips on how to beat him.
Oh, yeah,
she should,
I don't know.
She should. This is the real, and people criticize this, but she should do the Dr. Evil, right? This is where she should just go make a sandwich or something. She's so confident. But instead she's standing there like yelling tips to Usagi.
Yeah, I guess I didn't think about it like that.
Take the moment,
right.
Enjoy it.
Well, I think she's savoring.
Have some wine.
I think she's savoring watching it, but she could drink some wine.
Yeah, but when your taunting is instructive, that's bad taunting.
No, you're right.
Well, anyway, Usagi begs Endymion to stop, but he raises his sword. Just then we hear the sound of the lullaby version of Moonlight Densetsu. Usagi is holding out the star locket, and she says, please remember, I don't want to fight you. Endymion hesitates, and he reaches out to touch the locket. When he does, you got the touch! He starts glowing all over with a blinding light. We see a montage of all the best Usagi and Mamoru moments, like the time that he kissed her without consent. We also see something really interesting, kind of psychological. We see a young Mamoru post-accident, like the 6-year-old Mamoru, wake up in his bed, like, where am I?
Yes.
But Usagi is there at the bedside. She tells him that he's not alone.
Yeah.
And this is what happened on Sesame Street that you missed. Endymion falls to his knees, and his black rose turns red once more, and he says, Usagi, thank you.
Yes.
Mamoru has returned. This does not make Queen Beryl happy.
No.
She says, I can't forgive you for taking Endymion away from me again.
Yes.
It was all about jealousy the whole time, I guess.
Yeah, well.
And she summons our old friend, the impaling crystal.
Yeah.
She throws it at the pair, but Mamoru throws a rose back at her, and the rose splits the crystal down the middle into fragments. This is the problem with stopping a meteor. You got to stop it early enough, or otherwise, a bunch of little meteors.
Yeah, that's true.
Deep impact. Some of which land in his back. He throws himself in front of Usagi to protect her. His rose finds its mark in the middle of Beryl's chest. So he actually finally killed somebody with a rose.
Yeah, I know, right?
She's like, why do you protect her? If you'd married me, you would have been king of the world. And then vines spread across her chest, I guess, like rose vines.
Well,
something is going into her.
We'll talk about it.
Okay. I didn't know there was something to talk about.
Well,
Usagi is just worried about Mamoru.
Yeah.
He's laid out. Beryl continues to struggle with these vines, and she senses that the rose contains his energy.
Yeah.
Anyway,
well,
why understand the last episode? Let's just keep going. His love for Usagi is destroying her body.
Well, you know how like there's
good energy,
like
there's bad
evil
energy.
Yeah, this is the positive flip side of that,
I guess.
it's love.
But
and
didn't they just take energy from ostensibly good people the entire show?
Yeah, that's
why
true.
wasn't the Chanela pet love energy harmful to
Positive.
them? Anyway, she is not having a good time. She sinks into the floor like Oniwa Bandana,
Yeah.
but no relation, and disappears. Mamoru tells Usagi, "You gotta get out of here. Have a real life. Get a cool boyfriend." She says, "No one's cooler than you, Mamoru."
I know.
And I guess Mamoru dies because
Yes.
we are cleaning house.
Yeah.
On this show.
Yeah.
Over at the Queen Metalia pod, Beryl is groveling for power to destroy Sailor Moon, and Metalia says, "Okie dokie." And she also says, "It's time to imbue all the creatures in the universe with hatred and greed."
Yeah.
So that sounds fun.
Yeah.
She says,
Who doesn't
"Beryl,
want that?
Wipe out all living creatures other than yourself. Important distinction.
Well, she's going into Beryl, so...
And turn the world to darkness. Also, are we going to imbue creatures or are we going to destroy all the creatures? Platform is
you're right.
shaky.
Yeah.
Wouldn't vote for her. At this, the pod bursts open and it's full of purple energy. It looks like fire. And maybe it feels like fire because it goes on Beryl and Beryl screams when it surrounds her.
Yep.
Back with Usagi and Mamoru, it looks like Usagi is going to kiss him, but she stops and says, I can't kiss you. Well, yeah, I mean, learn that lesson of consent, I guess. But also, she says, yeah, all my friends died without kissing the boys that they loved. Mm-hmm. Well, you guys have already kissed, but we talked about that. She says, I still have something left to do. And as the cavern begins shaking, she gets up. Outside on the ice, a dark tornado bursts up from the ground.
Yeah.
As it does, revealing a leveled up Beryl who says, the dark energy is mine at last. And it's hard to get a sense of scale in the Arctic, but Usagi approaches her and we see that Beryl is 300 feet tall, I guess.
Yeah.
So a real statue of the opposite of liberty, bondage. Beryl shoots dark lightning at Sailor Moon, and there's an explosion of water that turns to ice like we saw previously. But when the smoke clears, we see not Sailor Moon, but Serenity atop the pillar of ice, holding the moon stick.
Yes.
Back in Juban District, let's just check out what's going on.
Yeah.
The citizens of this blasted metropolis see the sky go dark, and power goes out all over the city. We see the Tsukinos, and we also see the cats looking worried. Mm-hmm. And Artie says, well, the world's ending. That's that, I guess.
I know!
And Luna starts to run off, saying, I have to go to point D, because if Usagi releases the power of the silver crystal, she'll die. Whoa! New information!
Yeah, I don't think Usagi
in the second half of the 46th act of this story.
Right.
But I guess that's how Queen Serenity died too, I guess.
Yes.
It's like a wish power, but you have to die or something.
Yeah,
Who
if
knows?
you unleash the full power of it, I think it just takes all of your energy with
I guess so. Wish for more wishes.
Yeah.
Artie says, well, there's no choice. It's the only way to stop the evil. Back at point D, Usagi, or should I say Serenity, raises the moonstick as Beryl fires again. Usagi calls out, moon healing escalation, as her theme plays. The two energies clash and they throw a stream of rainbow light out in the Arctic. Mm-hmm. Beryl says, you dream of a brighter world, but you gotta realize this world is already ugly and full of filth.
Yeah.
Wow, you okay, Beryl?
Yeah, I know, right?
You all right? It's mood. She says, what are you fighting for? Friendship? Love? Why, Mr. Anderson? Why? Why do you do it? And Usagi says, because I choose to. No, she says, Matrix Revolution's weird ending. She says, I believe in this world and that everyone tried to protect. And she's still holding on, but the tower she's on is crumbling. She calls to the crystal for help, and she again sees flashes of her friends. Beryl doubles down on her blasting, and Usagi calls on her friends for strength. And the forms of the sailors surround her, and they all grasp the moonstick together. And she fires a huge energy globe out of the moonstick that envelops Beryl, who disappears. And then the globe keeps growing, and it swallows her. Endymion, we see it spread out from point D to envelop the fallen sailors.
Yes.
And Usagi narrates this all in VO. She says, I'm going to wake up in my bed. I'll be late for school. The teacher will yell at me. We'll get crepes on the way home. That's the ordinary life I want to go back to. Mm-hmm. Birds are chirping on a Tokyo morning. Yes. A school morning, as Usagi tears out the door, late for class. Mm-hmm. She sprints to school as Mako sprints past her. We see Rei sweeping up at the shrine. Minako is waiting for a bus, and the cats are still on the roof. Mm-hmm. Luna says, they've all been reincarnated, but I feel bad for them. Their memories of being together are completely gone.
Yeah.
Artie says, but they can all meet each other again. At Juban Jr., we see the girls looking at their test results, and Ami walks by, still number one. On the street with Naru, Usagi angrily crumples her test and throws it. It hits Mamoru in the head. He calls her bunhead. And as they run away, Naru says, isn't that guy kind of cool? He could be your soulmate.
Oh, thanks,
And Usagi says, nah, I got a dream of finding a cool boyfriend who will come to my rescue no matter what. And we see her and a dude silhouetted in a Valentine. And it ends!
I know.
That's the end!
I know.
That's it!
I know.
What?
Yep.
What?
I know. I agree with you. It's not a good ending.
Why didn't you warn me? when we started.
What was I supposed
Episode
to say?
1. Welcome to the Sailor Noob podcast. Don't continue. It will end unsatisfyingly.
What?
I got so many questions. Do we do them now?
Let's do them now.
So, first of all, question answered. The Moonstick can beat Thanos because that's basically what they do.
Yeah.
It just resets everything?
That's basically so the way
No. So what is it what happened? Like, did it what is it a time loop? Did none of this ever happen? Because they go back and nobody knows each other, and she throws the test like in the first episode or whatever, or is it all just happening again because they forgot? Or
I'm going to do my best.
What
to
does
answer
everybody in
this
Tokyo think happened
without spoiling?
We always talk about what I think is happening.
Yeah.
What does everybody think is happening?
So, there were a lot of people who were not happy about this ending.
Oh, tell me more.
In Japan, a lot of
whoa,
yeah, there were a lot of young fans who were very upset about this ending and kind of traumatized by it, and a lot of upset parents. I think kind of interesting to note is there was not much of a break between the final episode of season 1.
Well, they knew they were going right on.
Yes, and
Okay,
the first episode of Sailor Moon R, which is the second season.
Yeah, we've talked about this. So, like, Sailor Moon Plane and like Sailor Moon R are like basically like the same show. It's just like the second season, like you said. But like S and those other ones, those were all commissioned later, right? It was like we stopped for a while and then we're like, do we do another one? Let's do another one. Is that it?
I don't know. Let me look.
No, it doesn't matter.
Here.
You don't have to look it up. The point is that, like,
I mean, I think they pretty much knew all of them. They were going ahead. You know what I mean?
But there was more of a break.
Nope. No, there wasn't. Not between season.
But there was movies
2 and 3. Yeah. And I'm not exactly sure where the movies were released in between then. But between season R and season S, which was 2 and 3. Season R aired on March 12th, 1994, and then
this is granular detail.
And
that
season S,
doesn't answer any questions.
It started like a week later.
Yeah, all right. So they knew.
So they knew.
All right. Well, I guess it's for them. I guess it makes sense. They're not crazy people, I guess is what I'm saying. Like, they knew that whatever our questions or our disappointments, like, answers would be forthcoming. But
yes,
if you consider it to be a complete story on its own,
all of season
a volume,
1. Yes,
if you will.
Yeah.
It's not.
It's not satisfying.
Okay, the events aren't satisfying, and it's hard to keep. 46 is 2 American seasons of TV, basically, right? So it's hard to keep something going strongly in a thematic sense the whole time. But I guess when you look back, because we've always talked about, and I think the writers of the show vacillate on her capability, but we've always talked about how she doesn't seem cut out for this. Do you know what I mean? She's not like a
Who are
soldier.
you talking about? Usagi?
Yeah, she's not a soldier, a senshi, a leader.
Yeah.
She's not good at this.
Well,
so I guess you can stop me, but I'm going to keep going.
Go ahead.
Because this is I got feels. Because so I guess, like, if I had to, like, sum it up thematically, it's that she was chosen for this and she's not the right person for this, except to say that she is the purest of them.
Yeah.
And if the power of the silver crystal is answering your intent, if the bad guys get it, they snap their fingers, like the Infinity Stones or whatever.
Yes.
And the universe is terrible.
Yes.
But she's just somebody who wants, politically it's a regressive message. We want to go back to the days of when it was better. Something that both sides are hauling out right now. But she's somebody who wants the purest, best ending for everybody, even the bad guys.
Yeah.
And so she's the person who needs to possess this power. She's the if Captain America gets his hands on the Infinity Gauntlet, no one man should Kanye West, but it's the best outcome because he'll give everybody cheeseburgers and do you know what I mean?
Right. Like, the silver crystal follows her heart.
She was never gonna
her desires
slash the sword, and then Beryl slowly separates into 2 parts, and we win this. Like, it was never gonna end that way. But man, the way it ends is I don't know if it's lazy or if it's really committing to the theme that I just spooled out.
Well, something that I don't think is
to
necessarily...
help the show, because I don't feel like they did it very well.
Right. Something that I don't think is necessarily emphasized in the anime, but is it present in the manga.
Oh, boy, here we go. The manga.
What? In their past life, she was just Princess Serenity. She was not a Senshi.
She was a skater beyond compare.
Yeah.
Championship.
Right. But she had no experience fighting evil or being a quote-unquote superhero.
I guess that's true.
So I think that you have to keep that in mind too, whereas the other Senshi have that. They were always supposed to be her protectors. But yeah, it does end very... I don't like this ending either. I think it's very unsatisfactory. I don't like that...
Moonchild was the name of the princess, by the way.
Yeah. Wow. I know.
It's a very 80s fantasy movie for kids ending. You know, it's, if you need us. You know, it's like, oh, okay. Ludo and all my friends are here again, even though I escaped the labyrinth and it was all a dream because I fell asleep, or is it real?
You know, I feel like it's real.
If you just wish upon a star, it's fine. Never-ending story. I've got a dragon now. Do you know in the second half of the Never-ending story, the novel, you know, that's what we call a manga in America. Mm-hmm. Bastion becomes like a dictator and like a tyrannical ruler of.
It's like great. That's just what we need.
Give a kid a luck dragon.
Yeah, right. I feel like I guess what I don't like about it the most, like I don't necessarily have a problem with the idea that they're reincarnated or what have you. So I have read, without spoiling anything, that what? Why are you going groaning?
Famous last words from you to me.
Yeah, okay. That Kunihiro Ikuhara, who is one of the main directors of the anime, at least for the first couple of seasons, was asked about the ending of this. And his answer could be interpreted as being like, although they say reincarnated, I think what they mean is that everything was reset.
So in the future, as they're fighting other threats, will they, fight the Dark Kingdom again? Will they remember having fought Beryl? Because their whole origin is tied into...
Yep.
Like, I'm not saying that, like, Darth Vader has to be the bad guy in every Star Wars movie. He wasn't in 3 of them, so we got something right. But, like, is this it? She's, like, the focal point antagonist, she's the other end. All right, well, that's fine. And you don't. I know they fight aliens in the next one. I already saw that next time on. But it's just, I don't know. Okay, all right. So anyway, we're here to praise and not bury it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Or whichever one is supposed to be good.
Yep.
Shakespeare. So we got our complaints out. We don't have to beat up on it too much.
No, but I
will
don't
say,
like that they don't remember each other. I hate that. I hate it.
Well,
with a fiery passion, I hate it.
But I've seen it's a good story hook though, isn't it? How are they going to find each other again?
Yeah, well, I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's dissatisfying because it's not good, or if it's dissatisfying because it's that sort of narrative tension where you're like, oh, I can't believe that happened. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I've ever talked about Farscape on this show.
I don't know that you have.
Farscape went for 4 seasons and was brutally canceled when it had so much potential to continue, although 4 seasons is pretty good. And they ended the show. If you don't know anything about Farscape, this isn't a spoiler because so much stuff happens on this show. But they end the 4th season and the entire show by basically killing the 2 main leads.
Yeah.
Who are, romantic interests, and they're finally making it happen, and they're just brutally murdered. And you're like, I'm coming to your house, Brian Henson. What is wrong with you? With no line on there ever being any continuation to this story at all. Like, they burned the sets, like, the next day. Mm-hmm. And then, wonder of wonder, miracle of miracles, in an earlier time when somebody wished on a moon crystal, we got, like, a miniseries, like I can't remember how long it is. Maybe a 3-hour miniseries or
something
whatever.
Like that, yeah.
That is not fantastic. I think a 5th season would have been better, but
probably
wraps everything up in a pretty amazing epic way.
Yeah.
And there was no guarantee that would ever happen.
Yeah.
So, from that angle, I guess if they know they're immediately going on, it's just a plot twist. But the things that I was trying to argue, and I'm still, a week after seeing it, not sure how I feel about it, is it the right way to end it? Because like I said before, and you just reiterated, she was never a warrior. This was never going to be a thing where, like, there's a very similar moment in Dragon Ball where Goku is dead. Mm-hmm. Not a big deal. Yeah. Happens all the time.
Sure, yeah.
And so Gohan is left to fight, Cell, who I know they're all the worst thing they've ever fought, but is now the worst thing that they've ever fought. He's killed everybody. Everybody's dead.
Yeah.
And the only way that he can win is to do the Kamehameha or whatever, and he's wounded. And he does it, but as he's doing it, he's thinking about his dead father. He's thinking about all the friends he's lost. He's thinking about everything. And we see this image of, like, Goku sort of there. And we don't know if he's there in spirit or if he's just there in Gohan's mind, but he's sort of helping him.
Yes.
It's that similar kind of thing. And it really reiterates the connection between Goku and Gohan, because Goku's not a good dad. Mostly because he spent most of his son's life dead. And also because he gave his son to, like, his greatest enemy to brutally train to become a great warrior, which made him a great warrior, but didn't get them any closer at all. Yeah. So it's like a reaffirming of this commitment. And I like the fact that, it was only an episode ago, but we killed off all of her friends, but that bond between them is what gives her the strength to do what she has to do.
I like that too.
So that's all great, but I really don't like.
I don't like the last
reset
part
buttons.
Of it,
I don't like wish buttons, and that's kind of exactly what it is.
Yep. And so I'm not happy about that.
Well, you've had years to come to terms with it. Is this am I looking at my future?
Well, but you have to remember when I originally saw the series, I saw Day of Destiny, which was the edited 2 episodes down.
I feel bad for you.
And we
need a GoFundMe.
And the Senshi didn't die in that.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
So they don't die and they forget each other?
They don't forget each other. Not.
We got to stop talking about this.
Not really. A lot of that is cut out because they combined 2 episodes.
But there's future episodes. We have to just litigate this on some future episode.
All right, we can do
some different podcast.
Some different
because this one's over. This episode. It's about Sailor Moon.
Right.
We're done.
Right.
We brought it home.
Right. The original series, Sailor Moon. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Maybe they'll all meet each other one day.
We don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe that'll happen.
Who's hoping?
Yeah, I know.
Your Honor, a courtroom is a crucible. In it we burn away irrelevancies until we are left with a pure product, the truth, for all time.
Oh man, this is so intense. Data's on trial for his life.
I know. This episode, The Measure of a Man, is based on the Supreme Court's Dred Scott decision of 1857.
And every week on Backtracking, we take a look at the real-world events that inspired classic Star Trek episodes. Sorry.
Shut up! Who are you?
We're the hosts of Backtracking. I'm Caliban.
You will both be taken to the brig and from there to the nearest starbase, where you will answer charges for what you have done.
And I'm Gooey Fame.
This is not a game. This is life and death.
You can follow us on Twitter.
Backtracking is available wherever you listen to podcasts.
You go f*** yourself.
For Kyoru Miru, or Curiously Looking Around, where we talk about elements of Japanese culture within the episode, I thought today we would talk about apologizing in Japanese culture. Yes.
I can't forgive you.
Yeah, right.
As I point at my face.
Yes, exactly.
Or is that the Chinese?
Nope, Japanese. Well, maybe they do it in China too, but they do it in...
Maybe they do it in China too. We just watched a Drunken Master, which is like 50% of people pretending to be drunk and 50% of people pointing at their face and saying, I'm going to do this.
No,
and I'm
okay,
gonna do that.
All right. I just know that... I'm sorry, I wasn't thinking about that, but I just know that they do that in Japan.
Here's
Instead
a question
of pointing
to
at your
immediately
chest, they point
derail
at their
you
face,
or
kind of their nose.
re-derail you after I've already derailed you. So clearly, in their culture, or in Eastern culture, they have associated the face with representing myself, which makes total sense. I don't know why we don't do it over here.
Yeah.
When you think of the expression saving face, does does that literally translate? Are they aware of how into faces they are? Or is that a Western thing that comes from us observing them, pointing at their faces a lot, and also being worried about reputation?
I have no earthly idea.
I'll call that a stumper.
Yeah, I would have to look into that.
Every episode, I have to ask you some question you couldn't possibly know the answer to.
Well, I don't even know if they have that
Put it on the list.
phrase.
Saving face?
Yeah.
That's a thing. But we only became aware of saving face in the post-war thing. You know,
I see what
with
you're
MacArthur
saying. Like talking
and the
about
chrysanthemum and the sword and all this crap.
Like samurai culture, saving face. Yeah.
But I know they have I don't know if they call it saving face literally over there, but that's what we call it. But they do have a thing about in fact, one of the things that we wanted to do, this is so dumb.
What?
So, they had psyops, psychedelic ops. That'd be great. Psychological operations, in World War II as well. And one of the things that they wanted to do, they tried to do, I think they actually did it, was they came up with I don't know who's using this, spies. They came up with a cream or a gel that you could put on somebody that made it smell like they farted.
What?
So if you were a Japanese general or a high officer and you were walking around, it was embarrassing for you. And we're we got him.
Because you're going to be get it on them?
Nobody's going to respect you, and they have to be Shimata, I farted or something.
Oh my god, what? Weird. Okay. That seems very complicated. But all right.
Yeah. And then Truman became president, and it got a little less subtle.
Okay.
But anyway, please continue.
Yeah. So
let's talk about forgiving people. I'm going to forgive the creators of this show.
Yeah, I know. In this episode, Queen Beryl says that she will never forgive Sailor Moon for trying to take Endymion away from her again. This is not something that Usagi is going to apologize for, and nor should she. I mean, their love goes back to another lifetime, after all. But apologizing is an integral part of Japanese culture, and we are going to look at why that is, some important words to know, and some extreme examples of apologizing in Japan.
Okay.
The Japanese are known to be especially polite. Japan endeavors to be an amicable community, and most people try to put the well-being of the group before their own personal wants. They attempt to abstain from making a commotion or annoying others because they are mindful that what they do affects those around them. In other words, Japanese etiquette largely stems from staying away from meiwaku, which means annoyance.
Meiwaku.
Meiwaku. Okay. So that the harmony in the society can be maintained. So, comedian Tom Green did this special in Japan, and he was trying to think of ways to kind of annoy and irritate Japanese people. And so he was on a train, and he just was talking, and he was kind of loud, and he was talking to everybody. And this kind of older Japanese gentleman walks up to him and says, "We like quiet," in English. So, yeah.
I hate that Tom Midori. The worst.
He also did a segment which is it seems like it would be really dangerous and a really bad idea.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of, when in subway stations, to get down to the platform, there's either stairs or a escalator, and he decided to lay down in front of the up escalator and just kind of lay himself on the floor, and so people had to kind of just walk over him, and nobody really said anything to him. They just kind of looked at him like he was a weirdo, because he is. Anyways, not only is being polite and apologizing necessary for the continued harmony of Japanese society, it is also important because Japan is so densely populated, with the vast majority of the population living in urban areas. While an apology in Western countries would suggest guilt and personal culpability for an offense, the Japanese prioritize moving past what occurred, even in situations when the apologizer was not personally responsible. In other words, a Japanese person would apologize just to mend a relationship, even if they had nothing to do with what caused the offense. The apologizer may not necessarily be looking for forgiveness, but by apologizing, they are being polite and humble, which are especially desirable traits in Japanese society. There is a common view by foreigners that the Japanese tend to apologize too much. In a survey of U.S. and Japanese college students, U.S. students apologized 4.51 times in the prior week, while Japanese students apologized 11.05 times. Of course, the Japanese students were more likely to apologize when they weren't at fault for minor issues, which can at least partially explain why Japanese people are thought to apologize more than Westerners do. Let's take a look at some of the various terms that you can use to apologize in Japanese. There is not a single word that universally means sorry in Japanese, and selecting which word to use for a specific instance can sometimes be difficult for foreign speakers.
Okay.
The most versatile word associated with apologizing in Japanese is sumimasen, which means excuse me, and can be utilized when you bump into someone, to ask someone for something like getting a server's attention when you're at a restaurant, or to say thank you. An example of the latter is if someone offers you their seat on the train, you would say sumimasen. Sumimasen conveys appreciation for the thoughtfulness and kindness of others. Japanese people may actually utilize sumimasen more frequently than they use arigato to show thanks. Sumimasen comes from sumu, which means to end. So sumimasen literally means it has not ended, meaning that you are indebted for the other person's benevolence or forgiveness. A more formal version of sumimasen is sumimasen deshita, which you can utilize to apologize to a superior or after a larger offense than stepping on someone's foot. Adding deshita turns sumimasen into the past tense and can be translated as I'm sorry for what I did. Gomennasai is the term that I was taught in Japanese class in school that means sorry. If you are close with someone and you do not have much to apologize for, you can shorten this word to the much more informal gomen or gomenne, the latter of which can come off as a little bit more friendly. I've also seen a couple of different places say that it's kind of can be childish or
This is like my bad
or feminine. There's actually a different way of saying my bad, and I can't remember what it is right now, but you can only use it like between like really close friends or like family, and it's, you know, don't use it with a stranger or anything like that. But yeah, the kanji of men in gomen means to forgive. So the phrase of gomen, gomennasai, and gomen kudasai, which are varying forms of politeness, the latter of which is the most polite, basically saying like, please forgive me, because kudasai basically means please, would give the apology an acknowledgement of offense by requesting forgiveness. Gomennasai, however, is not really considered to be formal, so in day-to-day situations it's okay to use, but try to utilize a different term if you are talking to a superior or if you are doing any type of formal writing. So if you're like writing a formal apology, yeah, right. Well, another term, shitsure shimasu, which means I'm being rude, is probably best translated as excuse me, as it is utilized specifically in circumstances when you cause a minor inconvenience to somebody else. When entering a room where there is some activity going on, such as a class or a meeting, a quiet, under-the-breath shitsure shimasu with a slight bow is fairly common, and before leaving a room after having finished some activity while others are still in the room, such as leaving a meeting early, one should say shitsure shimasu and bow as they exit as well. Moshiwake means excuse, so the phrase moshiwake nai means no excuses can justify my actions and I apologize.
Wow.
This is the most formal verbal apology. So moshiwake arimasen deshita and moshiwake gozaimasen deshita are the formal versions of moshiwake nai and should be utilized when you are in a lot of trouble at work or mess up really badly with someone who is of higher social ranking than you, such as an in-law, for example, or a senpai or
higher
something like
social
that.
ranking. I don't know. An in-law.
For example, if you make some serious mistakes during a client presentation, you should use moshiwake gozaimasen deshita. It should always be followed by a deep bow as well. Bowing is, of course, a sign of respect in Japan, and there are different degrees of formality when it comes to bowing. Generally speaking, a bow that goes with an apology will be deeper and last longer than other bows. For example, a bow from company executives concerning a scandal will be about 70 degrees, and the entire gesture should last at least 10 seconds. Meaning, like, you have to kind of get yourself into position to do the bow, then bow for a certain amount of time, and then you will come back up from the bow a certain amount of time. And this is just so ingrained into Japanese culture that most Japanese people learn this at a very young age.
In a class?
No, I think they're probably taught as young children. This bow is known as the...
Now, what do you say?
Yeah, well...
Kid bows 70 degrees, sometimes 80. Okay, very good. All right, thank you.
This bow is known as the Saikei-rei, and this gesture shows intense regret or respect. So, okay, this specific bow is like only used for very specific occasions, like if you need to apologize, or if you're like meeting the emperor or something like that. So, so maybe a young child wouldn't necessarily learn this specific bow. The most apologetic bow is called the Dogesa. To perform this bow, kneel on the ground, place your hands in front of you about a foot apart, and place your forehead on the ground. Today, it is more common to see this bow in Yakuza or samurai movies than real life. An individual who is getting yelled at for doing something really shameful might do this bow out of fear or embarrassment. However, it is basically considered groveling.
Well, yeah, it is.
It is groveling, yeah. Dogesa is translated into English as kowtow or prostration. So, yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah. There has been a rise in the amount of public apologies made by companies in the past couple of years. One could compare the act of being forthcoming about corporation errors to an act of preserving honor or saving face,
right?
Which goes back to the samurai culture. To have the error revealed by the media first would give the business a bad reputation.
So this is them coming out and saying, we messed up.
Yes.
The talking doll should not bite children's fingers off.
Right. And this is what we're going to do to try to make amends. So here are some examples of extreme apologies in Japan.
Extreme. Apologize to the extreme.
To the extreme. In the Takata airbag scandal of 2015, millions of cars were recalled due to faulty airbags.
Ugh.
The company is thought to be responsible for at least 10 deaths. The airbags were put into over 100 million cars from 2012 to 2015. The president, Shigeisha Tanaka, slashed his pay in half for several months, but irritated the Japanese public by declining to resign.
Yeah, I was going to say, probably quit. And I bet there's
Right.
a lot more quitting than firing in Japan.
Yes, I think maybe there's maybe more honor associated with I will resign than,
Oh, sure.
quitting.
And there's nothing, it's sort of like signing an NDA. It's like a contract. There's nothing you can do. If you're fired, I'm just imagining American culture. If you're fired, then you're like, yeah, screw you. And I'm going to write like my tell-all book about how
Right.
it's not my fault.
Right.
But when you like quit, you're basically saying
It was
70
my
degrees.
fault. Yeah.
Yeah, my fault. Sorry.
Right,
I don't know.
exactly.
Yeah.
Also in 2015, Toshiba's president publicly apologized after the company acknowledged increasing profits of their infrastructure projects. 8 board members and Hisao Tanaka, CEO and president, stepped down. In 2017, actress Atsuko Takahata apologized publicly for her son, who was accused of sexual assault. Just like upper management takes responsibility for the actions of the company, Miss Takahata took responsibility for the conduct of her son.
What did he take responsibility?
I don't know. That's an excellent question. She said that as his mother, it was only fair that she should accept some of the fault for his actions.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, those are some
He's
extreme
35.
examples. Yeah, right. Exactly. Apologizing, I think most people can sympathize with this, obviously, is not an easy thing to do. And to help ease this difficulty, there are now companies in Japan that are ready to help.
No.
One such company is the Shizai Daiko, or the Apology Agency, which opened in 2014. The Apology Agency has 2 basic categories for clients: a company dealing with an angry customer, or an unfaithful spouse. The client explains what needs to happen in this apology. Then one of the apology agents assumes the identity of the party who should be apologizing, either as an employee at the business that wants to apologize or the former lover of the cheating spouse. Then they stake out the target of the apology, and once the target appears, they apologize profusely and also give them a Dogesa bow.
Not dystopia.
Yeah,
Dystopia.
right.
This is like Her, where Joaquin Phoenix writes greeting cards for other people.
Well, and supposedly the inspiration for this, I think, very Japanese company came from a film, actually.
What film?
There is a Japanese film that came out in 2013 called Shisai Osama, or The Apology King. And in the movie...
He was the Apology King.
Right.
But he wasn't ready to apologize himself.
Well,
Will Smith is...
Wow.
Sorry, go ahead.
So it's shown, you see a bunch of these apology cases, and it centers around this apology king or the apology expert, who is maybe the only...
it's like the Japanese version of Hitch is a professional apologizer. I
Right.
love it. It's so perfect.
Right, and he might be the only employee of this company, but it's the Tokyo Apology Center, and he makes his living teaching others how to apologize.
It's Hitch.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah, but it's all about apologizing.
I'm going to teach you the coolest way to apologize. You're going to apologize. We're going to get you to 50%, no more. 50 degrees. And you're going to wear sunglasses the whole time. It's going to be great.
I don't think you should wear sunglasses when you're
But
trying to
when
apologize.
he had to apologize himself,
I
I don't want to wait. His life turned around. All right.
Yeah, and there's actually so that company started in 2014, like a year after that film came out. But there's actually several companies throughout in Japan now that do the same sort of thing. So, yeah, I just thought that was fascinating.
That is, it's first of all the Apology Bureau, worst Matt Damon movie, but yeah, I guess if you're gonna, have this culture, people are gonna find ways around it.
Right.
Well,
and
or
it's
ways to
like-
profit off of it.
Well, and it's like the guy who is the founder and runs the company, he doesn't have a problem with people who are the guilty parties hiring them to impersonate, somebody to go out there and apologize for them. He doesn't
Right.
have any problem with that. Apparently, the one thing where he draws a line on, he will not, he had somebody at least once, a doctor who was a surgeon or something like that. They were doing a medical procedure, their patient died, and the doctor wanted to apologize to the family, and this guy who runs the agency said, no, I'm not
It's a
doing
legal
that.
issue.
Yeah, it's true.
What's the flower business like in Japan? Are they put out of jobs by professional apologers? That's what flowers are for, right?
Yeah.
You go into the flower shop. How mad is she? Number 1, number 2, number 3.
Right. No, I think that I don't know, maybe these agents, maybe they bring flowers sometimes. Apparently, if they're apologizing from a company, they actually go to the trouble of making fake business cards that really looks like they're from that company. So
I know there was already a movie about this, but I'm assuming it's probably what I was describing, right? And then he had to,
right.
But yeah, we got to do an American version of this.
Right. Would it even work in America?
Well, we do it differently.
Yeah.
This would be a scumbag.
Oh, yeah, for
and
sure.
in his own life, he's throwing cigarette butts into baby carriages. Like in his own life, he never apologizes, right?
Sure.
That's okay. Ryan Reynolds is. I want to work on this.
All right.
So, okay, cut this out.
Get going on that. Work on a treatment. For Itadakimasu with Usagi, what did Usagi eat in this episode? Nothing, but in Usagi's speech at the end, she says, quote, "We all go out for crepes on the way home from school." So
Right.
crepes were mentioned.
Right.
So I just thought I'd throw that in there. My Heart is a Kaleidoscope, where we talk about fashion and Sailor Moon. What the heck are they wearing? No new outfits in this episode besides Beryl's, and we'll talk about that later.
Oh, okay.
villain gauge, we rate a baddie 1 to 5 dark stars, 5 being the most wicked.
Let's talk about that.
Before we talk about Beryl, I thought, because we haven't done it yet, I thought we should rate Evil and Endymion. Because we have not done that yet.
Okay.
I mean, I think he's overall, I've been kind of, it's kind of disappointing. I feel like he's mostly ineffective, and I think they could have done so much more with him. I mean, in this episode, he does a lot.
He breaks her ribs.
I know, and it's kind of violent too, but
yeah, we can't wait for a Subu or Dabu.
Yeah, all right.
Oh boy. Yeah, I'm not prepared for this.
Okay.
I guess we do have to do this. So we're not just this episode. We're doing
not just this episode. The
like
entire run of Evil and Endymion. I mean, I think we could have seen a little bit more with his rivalry with Kunzite, as well. Like maybe we could have seen Beryl pitting them against each other a lot more, or encouraging competition to get the silver crystal and kill the Sailor Senshi or something like that.
Sure. Interesting. I guess all in all, I'm not that excited about him.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Although judged on how I've judged previous Yoma, I mean, he's got a lot going for him.
Yeah.
Cool costume.
Yeah.
Not some of the Yoma they're not gonna, get it near Ami's test scores in terms of intelligence. They're kind of single-minded, and I like the fact that he is going to do evil, but he's going to do it his own way. He's very proud. Nobody's going to tell him what to do. But it's not like it leads to like greater effectiveness. I mean,
not
really. How many Yoma has Ami taken down? and she beats him.
Yeah,
so,
that's true.
If I had to put a number on it, though, come back to me.
Okay. So I kind of waffled back and forth on this.
No, great.
And yeah, I know, right?
Sorry.
And I kind of wanted to give him a lower number. I think I'm going to go with a 3 out of 5 dark stars overall. I was maybe going to give him a 2. Just because I think they could have done so much more with him, and I would have liked to have seen him do more with him. Obviously, he doesn't remember being Mamoru or, at all, so it's not like you can really use that at all. But, like, maybe he could have done more to pit the Senshi against each other or kind of break them up and that sort of thing as well.
Yeah, that was like the title of one of his episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, judged, though, on the fact that he's the one guy that survived for the entire show, and other Yoma, no matter how good their plans are, shoot and goo or what, all go down after one.
That's true.
22-minute period. So I'd have to give him probably a 3.
Mm-hmm.
I think that if we had 10 of him, who knows how this would have turned out.
Right.
He's a general, but all we've got is foot soldiers.
Right.
So maybe not so great.
Yes. And then, of course, Queen Beryl herself. Beryl technically is the number 2 in command of the Dark Kingdom after Queen Metalia, who I just want to mention. So I came across this when I was looking at stuff about the Dark Kingdom and everything. So I just want to mention it. So her name is printed as Metalia in the original English translation of the manga, and I think in the first couple and in the subtitled versions that we watched, it's Metalia, but apparently it's supposed to be Metaria, like with an R and not an L. At least that's what some people are going on. I'm going to still call her Metalia because
but still invoking metal, right?
Yes.
So if we're leaving the Dark Kingdom behind, we got to get it all out now. What's going on? So she's metal, but they're all like crystals or like minerals.
Yeah, they're all
got
like
crystals, minerals, and metal.
Yeah.
I guess because they're from Earth.
Yeah.
Also, what's the deal with... There's going to be a lot of questions here.
Yeah, well, supposedly, at least in the manga, Metalia came from a sunspot in the sun.
That was not communicated in the show.
No, so her evilness was born in a dark sunspot on the sun and spewed to Earth somehow.
You gotta watch out for that.
Yeah, right.
Because she is what's the background of the Earth Kingdom then? The former Earth Kingdom, now the Dark Kingdom, because they're all possessed or infused with evil, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, theoretically there is a time way back in the way back where Queen Beryl is not so bad a person. Maybe.
She wasn't.
So thanks for the spoiler. So
no, it's in the manga. It's not in the
it's
anime.
in the manga. Oh, good, because the show sticks to the manga perfectly.
No, it doesn't.
Well, then it's a different story.
Okay,
that you're ruining.
Right. I'm not.
So, like, why is none of that important to the cartoon?
I don't know. I mean, the basic thing that they kept for the cartoon is that she basically gets possessed or takes Queen Metalia's like evilness on, and she becomes evil.
But what did Beryl do to deserve that? Think of the bad guys here. Come on.
She didn't do anything to deserve that.
Why was the Moon
per se?
Kingdom unassailable? Like, what? Metalia clearly wants the Moon Kingdom. Does she want it just because of its proximity, or does she want it because of its power and the Silver Crystal?
I think because of its power and Silver Crystal.
But she needed an army, I guess, and so the Earth Kingdom was weaker.
I don't know.
We can start there.
It's not
they got
really
a lot of brunette soldiers that can get this
it's
done.
not really clear in any.
Why does Ami have blue hair?
I have no idea. It's not really clear why Metalia. So basically, Beryl was in love with Endymion.
I got that.
And it's more explicit, I guess, a little bit more
Whoa.
explicit in the manga. Not really, not like that. It's just we see it a little bit more from her point of view, just a little bit. But she was, and she was jealous of Princess Serenity and Endymion being together, so that's why she went to Metalia and was like,
okay, that's what
give
I
me
asked before.
That's in the manga though.
So this since there's nothing in the show, we might as well bring in the manga.
So she goes to Metalia and is like, okay, screw it, I'm evil, make me evil, I'll listen to you. Blah, blah, blah.
Interesting. So, and that only comes in like the very last episodes of the show. It becomes clear that this is, the whole show is about love, but this is like a case of tainted love.
Yes. Yeah, right. Tainted, unrequited love, that sort of thing. Yep.
Interesting. Yeah. So it is a cat fight after all.
Mm-hmm.
I don't agree with that. That's horrible.
Well, I guess it is kind of horrible. But so that's basically why. And I don't know why they decide to possess the people of Earth as opposed to the people of the Moon Kingdom, but that's what they go for.
Okay.
So yeah.
Well, we're talking about Beryl.
Yeah, we are. I love her overall look. I love the little horns on her shoulders, her pointy ears, her red eyes.
Is that evil?
That's evil.
Was she like that? Well, you read the manga. Was she like that before?
She was a human in the manga.
Okay.
So that's what she looks like once she kind of comes over to Metalia's side.
Plus, the power of the Silver Crystal can just do anything, I guess. So it doesn't seem all that weird now that if you can just go, I get a wish. So putting two cats in tubes out of nowhere, I guess if you get whatever you want, then why not just send them to the future then?
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, maybe I guess everybody else is dead, so you just use your Infinity Gauntlet to the Soul Gem to ensure that they will
be reborn.
Yeah, skip the. First of all, you're holding back their karmic renewal for millions of years.
That's true.
Until they can be snotty teenagers in
I suppose
90s
you're right.
Japan.
Yeah.
You're really setting that. But maybe Moon people are not on the karmic wheel.
They might not be. I don't know.
This is all last episode, I guess. So you use the wish power, and then you got Beryl, and then you're supposed to explain to me now what the flower thing is. Why is she a flower?
Why is she in a flower?
She comes out of a giant pod, a lotus, if you will, and becomes 300 feet tall.
Yep.
And there's something about, or maybe it was just his love energy or whatever, but there's like something is spreading through her.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm not okay.
We got a lot of work to do here.
I do.
We get to it.
So, he throws his red rose at her, and it lands in her chest, and it looks. We hear like a cracking sound, right? And it looks like it's veins or vines or something. We're not really sure what's going on. But then I remembered. And this is something that's a little bit inconsistent within the anime. When Nephrite dies, his blood is green. So this is her blood that we're seeing. Her chest is cracking, and we're seeing her blood.
His blood is green?
Yes.
With the handkerchief that he's got on his wound is green?
It turns green.
I don't have a good visual memory for colors.
Yeah, so his blood is green. However, it is inconsistent because if you remember, Zoisite gets his face cut twice. Once by Mako's rose earring, and then by Tuxedo Mask's rose, both rose related.
Taking a lot of miles.
Yeah, and both times his cut bled red blood, not green blood.
And when they get shot through the hands by Crescent Beam, like they bleed red blood or whatever too.
Yeah, so it's a little inconsistent, but that's what's going on there. Why she later appears.
Well, wait, we're not done. Is she when she's cracking? Is she cracking like a mineral or a gemstone? He hits her in the cleavage.
Yeah,
and it begins cleavage.
Yeah,
I mean, this rock.
I guess I hadn't thought about it like that before, but that kind of makes sense. You know?
Yeah. No more low cuts for you. But screw all that, because she becomes a giant plant person.
Yes.
What?
I don't know. Like, so basically she goes to Metalia and asks her for her power and her energy, and Metalia is the being or whatever that's in her essence is in that little glass orb, right?
Right.
And so she combines all of her dark power and everything into Beryl and basically becomes a giant Beryl. And it's never named in the anime, but this form is typically referred to as Super Beryl.
Super Beryl.
So she is Super Beryl. So she emerges out of the cracked and the dark king, or she comes out of the ice. There's like some cracking, and she comes out of the ice.
Dark tornado.
Yeah, and she's enveloped in this huge purple flower that unfolds and reveals her. And this flower has long black stamen. I looked everywhere. I do not think that this is an actual flower. I think this is a completely fictional flower, and I'm not exactly sure why they decided to depict her this way, except maybe saying that she's kind of like a god, even though she's evil. Maybe she's like an evil god, because, you know, oftentimes I'm just spitballing here. The Buddha is depicted as being on a lotus flower, so maybe that's kind of imagery that they're going with. Which kind of looks similar to the flower.
I'm showing her a lotus flower.
It's got like pointed petals. It doesn't have the long stamen, but it has the pointed petals.
Yeah, maybe.
I read somewhere, but I think that this is incorrect, and I'll tell you why.
Oh.
I read somewhere that it's supposed to be a plum flower, but plum flowers are usually light pink color and have round petals, and the flower petals are pointed, and plum blossoms are known. They have their own name in Japan, just like sakura, which are cherry blossom flowers. They're called baika, and they flower earlier than other plants, typically in February. But I've actually, when I was in Japan, I've seen one like flowering in January. So, and they symbolize the coming of spring. So I don't know why you would want, yes, she's in the Arctic and it's winter, but I don't know why you'd want Beryl associated with the coming of spring. And they are also supposed to ward off evil. So I don't think that really fits. You know, so that's why I think it's a fictional
It's maybe
flower.
A little too literal. I just want to know why she's a flower when the bad guys... She should come out of a geode or something. The bad guys are associated with earth the earth realm with minerals.
Well, she is too, Beryl.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But like that rocks.
Yes.
Whereas the Guardians are associated with celestial objects and things like that.
Yes.
So, and then Tuxedo Mask is a flower guy. I guess flowers grow on Earth. Mm-hmm. Although lilies grow on the moon. Explain that one to me.
I think, so one thing, I guess, to note, in Japan and other East Asian cultures, flower, I think in a lot of Western cultures, we think of flowers as being really delicate and feminine, where they don't necessarily have that association in Eastern.
Flowers are rough and tough in Japan.
They're supposed to be strong. They're a lot of samurai crests were flowers. Including the baika, the plum blossom. It was a crest of a samurai clan.
Uh-huh.
So and it's not supposed to be like a delicate, soft thing.
The chrysanthemum.
Right, exactly.
The chrysanthemum throne.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so it's majestic.
It's majestic.
Okay.
Yes.
I mean, look, coming out of anything that's 300 feet tall is pretty impressive, I guess. You can come out of a burrito and be like, no!
Yes.
Delicious ruler.
So we should talk about Super Beryl's look, of course. It's very similar to Queen Beryl's overall look. Except she has a light blue skin, green wavy hair that stands straight up. She was wearing a bright red sleeveless dress with large slit down the front and a diamond cutout around her navel. She is wearing a black choker and armband, both with large red jewels. Her aqua teardrop earrings are now dark purple. She has a matching large dark purple jewel in the middle of her forehead and dark purple lipstick.
So, a lot of purple going on.
A lot of purple going on. And of course, Super Beryl covers the world in swirling darkness, which somehow takes out the electricity.
Hey, dark is dark.
Yeah, right? Making it even darker. And she has black electricity running back and forth between her hands, which she hurls at Sailor Moon and encases her in a huge ice crystal formation, similar to what we see the DD girls create in the previous episode.
I think that's just like, remember, because they're on an ice cap, right? There's no ground beneath them. I mean, there are mountains, and so when there's an explosion or something, it throws out the water, but it's so cold that the water just freezes
right away.
But it also just like rule
it
of
looks
cool.
Yeah. Of course, but Sailor Moon transforms into Princess Serenity, and the top of the ice formation opens and becomes a platform. And I think this is interesting. Beryl seems scared at this point. Like, she seems kind of frightened. Like, she's not sure what's going to happen. She thought she had this in the bag,
Yeah.
And of course, Beryl hurls more black lightning at Princess Serenity, and Usagi uses the moonstick and the silver crystal to counteract that. And then with the help of the Sailor Senshi lending their powers to Princess Serenity, their powers combine and create a huge pink ball of positive energy that kills Beryl, who basically disintegrates when the energy hits her.
Is that what happens?
I think that's what happens. I had to watch it a couple of times.
We talk about being sealed away.
Yes, that's what happens with I don't know, it just looks like, I suppose maybe you could interpret it. You could interpret it as the power of the silver crystal, and it's capturing or encasing her. But it looks like, if you watch it, it looks like when the pink orb of energy hits her, her body is slowly breaking up.
Maybe it breaks up into regular-sized Beryl.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, it's the Infinity Gauntlet. I'm sorry to keep bringing it up.
No,
but
I get why you
could
do.
Like, Steve Rogers could get the Infinity Gauntlet and snap his fingers, and all the toothy soldiers get to be with their toothy wives and toothy children, and maybe Thanos just gets snapped back to the farm planet where he can just grow wheat or something like that.
Sure.
But you put it in Tony Stark's hands, and he's like, "No, you're all dust. You're all gonna die."
Well, that's true.
And they're all just eliminated.
Yeah.
And so it depends on what Sailor Moon wants for her, or wishes will happen, because they're all enveloped by the energy.
Yeah, that's true.
And they're all, restored to like quote unquote normal lives.
Right.
So I don't know. I think MIA on Beryl.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
All right. I think a couple.
Should we see her just driving a bus or something like that? It's like a lady with pointy ears just working in a shop.
Right.
Can I get you something else? She goes to work for the Osakas.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
I just love these
jewels.
gems or something.
Yeah. Woo.
It's a great employee.
Yeah, right. So a couple of great lines that Beryl has during this episode. Quote, "So you've come, little girl. I will show you what hell is." And then, quote, "Queen Natalia, please grant me power. The power to crush that despicable girl. Please."
Please.
I really like Beryl overall. I think she is a really menacing bad guy and is really quite cruel to her subordinates. And I also like that, like, I think you can tell that she's a powerful leader because she barely ever gets up from her chair. So she's good at delegating, right?
Or she's lazy.
Or she's lazy. I don't know which it is. I think we see her stand a couple of other times prior to this episode, but it's not a lot during the entire series.
Right.
I know that she is essentially the leader, but I wish that she had done some more throughout the series, like fought the Senshi at least a couple of other times, I know she's like telling everybody else to do it and she's in charge. I just would have liked to have seen her be a little bit more hands-on. And maybe that's asking too much from like the big bad.
Well,
so,
yeah, I guess.
So I'm going to give her 4 out of 5 dark stars.
I mean, 4 out of 5 isn't bad for the criticism that you leveled at her.
Yeah, well.
I'm probably going to go 4 as well. I think just having a character be more developed is like my tell for whether I'm going to give them a higher rating or not.
Sure.
And, we've spent a lot of time with her.
We have.
I think in the time that we've spent, we could have seen more than her just sitting in a chair.
I think
massaging
so too.
a crystal ball.
Yeah, she could see people through her crystal ball.
But we do get, stuff from her dialogue. We see how she deals with her underlings. And I think there's, again, it's just sad when we have to, whenever we're talking about these characters, their story's done, right? So it's sad that we have to wave goodbye. But yeah, I just think that in terms of character design, in terms of her, having to manage all these people, and what happens at the cocktail party?
Ooh, good question.
Is the party over?
I don't know. I don't know the answer. We don't actually see.
Do they all get disintegrated too, you murderous podcast host?
I don't know. Maybe.
I don't know. I like her. I give her 4.
Yeah. Some trivia regarding this episode. Queen Beryl's voice actress, Keiko Han, got her only on-screen credit for the role at the end of this episode. In all previous episodes, she was only credited for the role of Luna.
Right.
So I don't know if they just kind of wanted to hold that back, that for some reason that she was doing Beryl as well as Luna. I'm not really sure what the line of thinking is on that. But for whatever reason, they only credited her on this episode. So
just like an encore bow. Yeah,
basically. For Subu or Dubu, where we talk about the differences between the sub and the dub. In the dub, the Dark Kingdom is the Negaverse. Since the scene from the end of episode 45 that showed a newly awakened evil Endymion was cut, the dub has Beryl instead say, quote, "The spell I cast is too strong." I don't know. That's it. Since in the dub the Senshi didn't die, they were just captured by the Negaverse. All mentions of their death or flashes of them dead were cut.
Sure.
Also in the dub, the flashback scene from episode 22 was kept intact, even though the scene when Usagi and Mamoru fell off the balcony was cut in the dub version of that episode and not previously seen by American audiences.
Right.
So it's kind of interesting. The fight between Sailor Moon. What?
Well, just if you're just watching the show and you're like, is this one of those like
Did I miss that?
goof reels where they're like putting things in that never happened?
Right.
They're fighting alligators or something.
Right.
Like, what?
Exactly. I don't remember that.
Yeah.
Was I asleep at some point? Yeah. The fight between Sailor Moon and Endymion was cut down a lot, starting from where Endymion threw a black rose at Sailor Moon that turned into vines and constricts her, and concluding with him kicking her. So that was all cut. Also cut from the Sailor Moon Tuxedo Mask fight, and Endymion choking her and then him throwing her onto the ground. Shots of the black spots on the sun from the Dark Kingdom were cut. Tuxedo Mask being fatally struck by black crystal shards, and the entire scene and speech with Tuxedo Mask dying after Beryl fled was cut. In the dub, we do see the rose strike Queen Beryl. However, the scene where we see that the rose is embedded in her and the positive energy of love pulsing through the rose and the cracking of Beryl's skin were all cut. Of course, as I think I mentioned before, the scene with Mamoru and Usagi talking before Mamoru passes was cut. The dialogue was also altered to make it seem as though he was still alive. Yep.
Oh, you're still alive but wounded. Well, I'm
Yep.
out of here.
Right? I know, because that makes sense. A lot of the scene with Luna and Artemis is cut, including Luna wanting to go to Point D and Luna talking about if Usagi uses a silver crystal, she will die. The big fight with Queen Beryl and Princess Serenity was shortened by almost a minute. The song that played during the battle against Queen Beryl in the original was Moonlight Densetsu. In the dub, the song was changed to Carry On.
Carry On?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's like a different song that was just created for the dub, the English dub.
Really?
Yeah.
We talked about that before?
They changed all the songs. I don't know if we've specifically talked about that, but they have.
Well,
yeah.
Going forward, maybe we'll
Okay.
talk about that stuff.
All right. Sailor Moon's Moon Prism power was changed to Cosmic Moon power. Sailor Moon's basically falling back and dropping the moon stick and the pink ball of energy engulfing her body, and Endymion's and the Sentries was cut, which was over a minute. They cut Mako running past Usagi and later Usagi running past Minako. The second scene between Luna and Artemis, where they talk about how the girls are reincarnated but they don't remember each other at all, was cut. The entire ending scene where Usagi and Naru run into Mamoru is cut. The scene in the original where Mamoru is in the hospital bed and Usagi was next to him was moved to the very end of the episode, and the dub, the part where we see a young Mamoru, was cut. So essentially the way they did it was like he was injured and in the hospital and Usagi was visiting him.
But he's a child.
No, the part where he's a child was cut.
But,
we do see him as
he
an
is
adult.
in the bed. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, man, that totally changes everything.
Yes. The song that played at the end of the episode in the original was You're Just My Love. In the dub, the song was changed to It's a New Day.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not a time loop then. I mean, where's Mako running to? Her school is close to Juban Jr., but she's running somewhere else. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know.
Somehow they have forgotten. They went through their entire school year, whatever grade, 8th grade or whatever they're in, and there's just a couple people that are in their class that they're like, I just never got to know them. I guess something like that.
I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see.
Because me walking by and having the #1 score, I mean, that could be any day of the week.
That's true. It doesn't tell us anything about where it's at all. So now we're going to rate the episode and give our English and Deke titles. I really like the scene where Usagi pulls out the star locket and pleads with Endymion to remember. I also really like that in his last breath, Mamoru tells Usagi to go back to being a normal girl and to find a cool boyfriend, and she answers that no one is cooler than you, Mamoru.
You're so cool.
His future's so bright, he has to wear shades.
No, it's like, is it True Romance? You know, Christian Slater.
I've never seen that.
And Patricia Arquette. Really?
Yeah.
And the whole thing, I mean, it's written by Quentin Tarantino, but it's directed by Tony Scott, I think.
Okay.
And That's the whole thing. Is just like he wants to be super. He's just an avatar of Quentin Tarantino, but he wants to be super cool. And like the refrain in that movie is just like, "You're so cool." That's what I was telling him.
Yeah, I think that's more or less what we're dealing with
I
here.
mean, it ends pretty much the same too.
Yeah. Okay.
Spoilers.
Wow. I like that the spirits of the Sailor Senshi appear and lend their powers to Princess Serenity to help her defeat Queen Beryl, and I really like that image of all their hands on the moonstick. I think that's really great. However, I've already gone over this, but I am not a fan of the ending. Yes, they're reincarnated, but they don't remember each other or, at all. And Artemis saying they can meet again and create new memories. Yeah, but are you saying they're not going to remember? That's just, I just feel like it's so cheap and it's disappointing, and I'm not a fan.
Yeah, what are they, Doctor Who companions? Getting screwed like this?
No, it kind of feels like that.
Yeah.
Poor Donna. Anyways, so I'm going to give this episode 4 out of 5 roses.
This is the worst thing I've ever seen. 4 out of 5.
I still really liked it. I just didn't, I really didn't like the ending. So there's no way I could give it a 5. So, but I still liked it. So I'm going to give it a 4.
3.
Wow. Okay. All right.
But remember, 3 is average, right?
Yes.
For something that is so built up. I mean, very little story happens in this episode.
That's true.
For something that's so built up, I felt like it didn't fully deliver. Or it just delivered in a way that I'm just not ready at this time to accept.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as like them not remembering, like I said, I don't got a problem with that. Although I seemed to at the beginning of the show. But I mean, just thinking about this being another chapter in a story that's ongoing, it doesn't bother me all that much. They paid off the locket.
Yeah. Which is great.
But again, I guess, I don't know. Usagi makes us question our view of a hero.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, if you are a superhero like Batman.
Yeah.
We're all excited because we've seen, I guess you know when this is recorded now, but we've just seen the trailer for the new Batman movie.
Mm-hmm. The Robert Pattinson Batman movie.
Yeah, and it's like, what do we want out of Batman? He's a hero. We know that he's, darker than a Superman, but we still want him to be a hero.
Yes.
But when we see him in like weird black mascara and he is approached by one thug and he punches him 47 times and breaks his arm, and crushes his face or whatever, and he's like, yeah, I'm the hero. It's like, all right, but I mean, like, wouldn't the hero want the system of Gotham to change and the criminal courts to be reformed so that,
absolutely.
And like, if Usagi she's a hero and she can Sailor Moon kick, but she's not a warrior. She's not somebody who fights. You put her up against a demon-possessed, sword master. I mean, who's going to win that one every time? It's going to be the guy that wants to kill her, right? But the fact that not fighting back is she just can't fight back. And I think it's a little, maybe at some point halfway through the show, they realized that's what we've got here. So we need to plant something that will allow her to win through care and through love, and wanting to change someone. Mm-hmm. And so that's represented by the little song that plays from the locket, which ultimately helps her win. That's all great. That's fine.
Yeah.
3. On the opposite way. This is so great. It's 3 out of 5. No, I mean, like, there's just things that like really come home or really land. And there's other things that are like, man, I'd really like to know more about that. Like, you couldn't end it sooner and give us a little more of a denouement.
Beryl's backstory or something
no,
like that.
I don't care about that. Especially I hate when they give the backstories in the last 10 seconds or something.
Fair.
Suddenly we see Beryl, her ice cream cone is knocked over by a girl in dango buns.
Right. Oh my god, no.
Nothing like that. But
I should ruin my ice cream. I'll ruin
just give us a little more suggestion that they will all meet again, or I don't know. Like I said, it's just a chapter in a story, and it's not my favorite chapter. 3 out of 5.
Okay, that totally makes sense. So my English title for this episode is Final Battle, Born Again.
Final Battle, Born Again. Pretty good.
Yeah.
Mine is The Power of Love. Look, They're deep
Yeah.
titles. They don't have to be clever.
No.
But I just think that's, what's the theme? What's
Yeah.
going on in the episode?
Absolutely. Love conquers over evil. I think that's a huge part of the episode. Absolutely.
And then you forget everything.
And then you forget everything.
But you don't time travel.
No, you just wipe the slate clean. So next episode, we are going to take a look back at season 1 of Sailor Moon. The ups and downs, the highlights and lowlights. Cal is going to talk about what he thinks is coming up in Sailor Moon R.
No, don't make me do it.
You're going to do it. Will the Senshi remember their past? Will Luna and Artemis actually help the girls train?
Will they do anything?
Yeah. Will we ever see Miss Haruna again?
Who's going to feed these kids?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, will Miss Haruna be fired for indiscretion?
Yeah.
It's Sailor Moon R. I'm just assuming we're going to up the maturity a little bit. Yeah, we'll be back. We'll talk about some of our favorite moments, favorite
Yes.
Yoma. We're talking about where we'll be taking this show in the future, how we might be changing the format a little. And, it's not all going to be dry. Maybe we'll have some fun surprises.
Yeah.
Talk about some of the things that we've been seeing around. Now that I'm, weapons free on anything from normal
Original
up to
season.
R.
Yeah.
I've been looking at some of the live action stuff.
Yes.
We might talk about some of the extremely ill-fated attempts to turn the show into an American property.
Yeah.
Not once, but twice. This is a team full of angels.
Yeah. Well.
So yeah, well, that's what we'll be doing. And then after that, let's take a little break.
Yeah, I think so.
Not
I
too
think
long.
We
How
deserve
long did Toonami take or whatever? 2 weeks, right? What if it was 2 weeks?
It was more like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
sure.
not too long.
Yeah.
So probably to take a little break after our 47th show, but then we'll be back. I think due to popular demand.
Yeah.
With a whole new episode of the show.
Yeah.
We call it Sailor
for
Noob
season
R.
I think we can continue calling it Sailor Noob. Do you really want to change the name of the
We'll talk
entire
about
show? Okay. All right. Well, that's our show for this week, and the Name of the Moon will be punishing you next week with another episode of Sailor Noob.